In the following statement by Christopher Hitchens, you'll hear him being very, very open and very, very honest, and really exposing what's at the heart of many atheists, which is just rebellion and hatred. I mean, literal hatred of God. So that even if you could, to their satisfaction, prove God's existence, their reaction would be, well, okay, I hate him even more now for the fact that he exists. And what's really telling is his very open admission that, well, what I term two of atheism's top consoling delusions. And these are the consoling delusion of lack of ultimate accountability and the consoling delusion of absolute autonomy. He's actually very, very open about that. He will not stand for any kind of a God that would infringe upon what he considers to be his right to freedom. So no God can have any sort of power over him, no judgment of him, or hold him accountable. That's just not allowable. And literally, that's his argument. He just won't allow that. It's not something he wants. Therefore, it is not. What you'll hear also is one of his oft-repeated claims that he simply just rejects any kind of God who would supervise him, who would know his thoughts, his motivations, and his deeds. Just because. I mean, that's not really an argument. It's just him saying, I don't like it, therefore it is not. And if it is, then I reject that God. Of course, this is because he rejects God as judge. Because surely anybody who would come before a God who claims to be not only a judge, but the ultimate judge, would want that God to have omniscience, to have all the relevant information, so that he not only views our actions, but knows the motivations for those actions. I mean, that would seem an important, in fact, essential characteristic to the concept of an ultimate judge. Also, what you'll hear is that, well, he basically rejects an omnipresent, omnipotent administrator of the universe. Even whilst as an atheist, he believes in an omnipotent, omniscient administrator of the universe. See, he does away with God as being such a character, but he knows that in his place he has to place the laws of thermodynamics so that he is indeed under constant surveillance of these laws, for there's not one single second in his entire life that he was able to escape the grip of these laws, so that he was rigidly controlled in this manner of speaking. This is somewhat of a difficult correlation, but I mean, it is a fact that he rejects an omnipotent and omnipresent administrator of the universe and replaces it with another. It's just that in replacing it with laws of thermodynamics, he replaces it with an impersonal force.
It's time for one of America's fastest growing game sensations. Oh, this is going to be a bust. It is What If. That's right. We're going to play an exciting episode of What If here on Wretched Radio. The game where we create a scenario for some they would consider it to be fantastic, and then we ask them, what if it's true? Tony, who's our first contestant today on What If?
Todd, our first and last guest, has been hailed as one of the most brilliant journalists of our time, according to the London Observer. He's a contributing editor, ironically, for Vanity Fair. He was named one of the top 100 public intellectuals by Foreign Policy and Britain's Prospect. He studied in Cambridge and Oxford, and now he just hates God. He's the author of God is Not Great. He is Christopher Hitchens.
Wow, fancy that. Christopher, thanks very much for being with us, sir.
Hello.
Christopher, we're going to have you play a game show today called What If. Are you game?
Sounds all right.
All right, here's what we've got for you, sir. We are going to play a game. I'm going to create some fantastic scenarios, and then you tell me, sir, what your response would be if these things happen to be true. Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. I realize for you, sir, the author of God is not good, that you don't believe in God, but what if...
God is not great, excuse me.
God is not great. What?
Now in paperback at fine bookstores everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So what if God actually exists, sir? And what if he actually has provided everything for you? He's granted you life. He has given you health. He has given you food. He's given you the trees to write your screed against him. He's provided you royalties. It all came from him. What if that is true? Sir, would he not have been good to you?
No. He wouldn't. Because if that were true, it would mean that I had an eternal supervising parent who would never die and let me get on with my life, never let me grow up, would keep me under surveillance.
But you have, sir.
And supervision every minute of my life.
But you
constantly asked me to be thanking and praising him.
Yeah.
I think it would be
wasn't part of the scenario.
It would be like living in North Korea. I think it would be a horrible outcome.
Well, not sure that God is Kim Jong-il, but what if what I said is true?
Well, ask Kim Jong-il. He has a different opinion.
Uh-huh. So if that is the God who's made you and created you, he's allowed you to live your life, shouldn't that be a sign of kindness to you?
No.
Oh.
I don't want anyone's permission to live my life, thanks.
All righty. Well, it's not that you've been asked or that you asked him.
I think it's servile, and one is expected to constantly grovel as a result.
All right. Christopher Hitchens, round 2 of What If. What if God exists? He's provided everything for you. He's kept you together by the power of his word. If that is truly God, do you believe that God, if he's provided everything for you, has rights on your life?
No.
Because?
Why should he? What gives him this right?
Because he owns you. He's created everything for you. He's kept you alive.
I don't want to be owned. I don't want to be owned, and I don't recognize anyone's right to own me.
Remember, we're playing a game of what if.
I wrote my book exactly to teach people to emancipate themselves from the man-made slavery of religion, and you're giving the perfect instance of what I mean. I don't acknowledge anyone's ownership of myself.
I know you don't acknowledge it, but what if he is God?
Suppose that I grant your premise about him having made me and even treated me well, still doesn't give anyone ownership rights. Any more than I have these for my children.
Okay, so even though he keeps you alive, he causes you to breathe, he provides you food and everything that is good, he doesn't have any rights to tell you what to do. Nothing.
Does that mean that people who are sick and poor and hungry are excuse this obligation of thanking someone brokenly for owning them?
Well, that isn't a part of the game show. I'm just asking you. Let's play another round here.
No, I'm sorry. I think a question may take the form of an answer.
All right. So here's question number 3 of our little game show called What If, with our special guest Christopher Hitchens, the author of God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, which is I hope, hyperbole, but even so.
No, it isn't. Not if it postulates that I'm someone who's owned by someone else.
All right. So
that would ruin everything for me if it were true.
Okay. So ownership is a bad thing?
Of people, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's been widely considered. I mean, I know the Bible does call for slavery as it calls for genocide, but that doesn't make it right.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, but we're playing what if.
It might be you, I don't know. You may take the Bible seriously for all I know.
Oh, I sure do. What if there's a judgment day, sir? Just what if? What if? I know a crazy scenario for you, but a day when God causes you to give an account for every thought, every word, every deed. How do you think you'd do on that day, sir?
Well, I would ask by what right.
That's not the question. How would you do?
If someone stops me and says, I've got a few questions for you, I say, excuse me, I'm in a hurry. Who are you to be posing these questions?
Well, what if he's God and he made you and he has the right? What if?
The question.
How would you do?
The most ancient question is still quo warranto. By what right?
Mm-hmm.
This right can't just be assumed.
All right. If it's true, remember we're just playing a little fantasy game here.
Yes, I understand. I'm telling you what my reaction would be.
All right. So how would you, if for instance, if he ran you through the 10 Commandments, his standard of goodness and perfection, how do you think you'd measure up, sir?
Lead us not into temptation, may his soul find the salvation of thy great eternal